Well, Connie Boglis was on her way to Athens when she received life-changing news about her former partner, Jesse Bird. The 32-year-old Afghan veteran had died by suicide at his Melbourne home on the 27th of June 2017. You see, Jesse had struggled with PTSD after leaving the army in 2012. He spent many years trying to secure financial help and to get the Department of Veterans Affairs to recognise the physical injuries he suffered during his military service. He died just weeks after being told that his permanent impairment claim had been denied. It's been 7 years, but Connie hasn't given up. She's been a tireless advocate for greater support for veterans and their families, in addition to her day job as a counsellor and mental health worker. And on Australia Day, she received an Order of Australia Medal for her service. Now she's worked with the Australian War Memorial to have a sculpture commissioned on the grounds to acknowledge the suffering caused not only by war and military service, but the struggle to receive recognition back home. This sculpture was launched in Canberra yesterday morning, and Connie joins me live now. Connie, thanks so much for your time. How did you feel? How do you feel today? It's been a long struggle, of course. That sculpture doesn't bring Jesse back, but it's recognition.
It is. And firstly, thank you for having me here with you today. There are a lot of emotions, but I think the one that I feel most today is peace.
Peace. Explain that to me.
As your introduction shared, it's been a long journey to get here today. A lot of roundtable discussions and a lot of uncomfortable conversations for our former government, having to have with us, the families that were deep in grief, very angry. And for me, I just wanted acknowledgement for Jesse past and for everybody after us who the families and the loved ones carried that in the living and they needed to be heard. And so it was a very important process for me to make sure that everybody after us in some way can feel that peace and acknowledgement.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to hear you say peace this morning because, I mean, Jesse's legacy with your help is now a quite extraordinary one. But can you take us through Jesse's struggles? What was at the core of it? What it did to him not being recognised?
So I met Jesse in 2014. We were together for 2 years. And having a background in mental health for me, I personally don't think I knew myself, even with the knowledge that I have in the space of counselling, the impacts of wartime service on our veterans. And so for me, maybe I was naive, but I think as an Australian community, we really don't know the toll of the war that comes home until we see it in our backyard, in our homes. And so I witnessed Jesse having night terrors. I witnessed Jesse's minimal communication when anything around emotions were asked and if he was okay. Yeah. I witnessed him lose a job and having such an honourable role that he did in the ADF, trying to transition out of that, not only asking for mental health support, being medicated to manage his PTSD, but then being unable to return to such an honourable role and transition that to our police force, our fireys. He was medicated. They wouldn't accept him. And I think, you know, we're now starting to really unpack and understand what is needed, but we're also giving grace and understanding to every individual's different needs. And I think that is the legacy I want to leave behind for Jesse. I want the families to be heard, the carers to be acknowledged, and most certainly the veterans treated as individuals, not as a box to be ticked and everybody to be serviced the same way. That's not how any individual functions. And so that was our work. That is what I did. I held a mirror to the government and I made them feel.
And you've had an impact on so many, I know that, Connie. I imagine when you come home from a tour of duty like Afghanistan, it is hard to fit back into normal life when you've seen the horrors of war, and then to, you know, move back into a society that's obsessed with celebrity news from time to time, for example, must be really, really difficult. What have things improved since Jessie died?
Look, one thing I'm very proud of is that our advocacy led to a push towards the Royal Commission into veteran suicide.
Indeed.
And I knew as soon as we got that, I was able to step away knowing that I drummed down the throats of every MP that would hear our story. And I think everyone knows our story quite well, sadly so. But it's opened the door to everybody else who's needed to be heard. We have people coming forward. There are thousands of submissions now. Our commissioners have travelled across Australia, heard far and wide. Vietnam veterans, children, you know, they are now being heard. So you can never unsee and untell that story and that narrative that needs to be shared. So for me, the Royal Commission is taking over and we are now seeing the truth-telling that should be shared. It's a very long time coming.
It certainly is. Connie, your work is incredible. The way you've articulated the issues on my show this morning is incredible. We thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.